Hey, welcome to episode 9. I got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking to two different people today. I have guests. And one is an art teacher and the other is a theater teacher. And they've got an event coming up, so this video is a little time sensitive, but the interviews are great. It's going to talk about art, and that's what my channel is about. Art and music and community. And so these guys really, they're helping kids come up in the art of music and theater and painting and sculpture and all kinds of fun stuff. So I gotta do a shout out to, I guess someone's hounding me about being my biggest fan. So Jaden, I'm calling you out. I don't think you're my biggest fan, but well, maybe we'll have a party this summer and we'll check and see if you are the biggest fan with all the other fans. Anyway, just kidding. I do want to mention something. Lemon Drop, you know who you are. I really needed you on this location shoot. She does camera work for me, and when I'm doing location shoots, I can't be behind the camera, in front of the camera. In the studio here, I can set up 2 different cameras and, kind of get things going pretty good because, I've got monitors, I've got lights, I got all kinds of stuff, and I don't necessarily have to be behind the camera. But on location, man, I really needed somebody. And so why am I bringing this up? Well, my subjects look really good, but I'm just a little bit out of focus on camera 1, and so please forgive the focus issues. But the rest of it looks really good and the information's great, and I know you're gonna super enjoy it. So let's get going. You ready? Let's go.
The name of the Lord is a mighty, mighty fortress, where the righteous run in and they are saved. The name of the Lord is a mighty, mighty fortress, where the righteous run in and they are saved. Jesus is the name of the Lord. Jesus is the name of the Lord. Jesus is the name of the mighty, mighty fortress. Well, who could be against us? Jesus is for us. Who could be against us? Jesus is for us. What I say? Name of the
Wow, the name of the Lord is a song I wrote a long time ago when I was doing worship for Johnny and Friends up in Santa Cruz. And we were doing this, the scripture was, "The mighty fortress is our God." And this song just kind of rattled around in my head. And then I got a really cool little poster from my sister-in-law, and it had all the names of Jesus on it. And I would sit at the piano and I would sing that song, and at the end of the song I would do what I call the name game. And so I would just kind of just riff off all the different names of Jesus. And if you listen to the rest of that song on the Rick Copus Band on either iTunes or wherever you get your music, check it out. At the end of the song, I kind of riff off on the names of Jesus. It's fun. But hey, I'm here to talk to my very first guest, Scott Fuzzy Joseph.
That's right.
Dude, I know you as Mr. Joseph, but
Yep.
how in the world did you get a name like Fuzzy? What
So
the
what's
heck?
really exciting and part of like my testimony and my walk is, before teaching, I actually worked as an apprentice at a tattoo shop. And back then I had these massive mutton chops.
All right.
And my mentor, Tattoo B, gave me the nickname Fuzzy. At first, I thought this is a ridiculous nickname because they were wrestling with the ideas of like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, things like that.
You are big.
I'm a pretty tall dude, but they ended up going with Fuzzy, and I thought this is ridiculous. This sounds stupid. But then when you have a biker come into the tattoo shop and say, "Oh, hey, Fuzzy," you're like, "Oh, okay, it sounds pretty cool. All right, we'll go with it." So, as a nod to him and all that he taught me in my apprenticeship, I keep that. I keep the Fuzzy in there, and people remember Fuzzy more than Scott.
Well, I've never heard your first name before. It's always been Mr. Joseph. And then when you told me to go check out my bio, I saw Fuzzy, and I'm like, "Oh, dude,
Yeah.
we gotta talk
That's
about
branding.
Fuzzy."
That's branding.
I'm telling you, man,
That's branding.
It's awesome. So, you in your bio, you were a military brat. I hate that term,
Yeah.
military brat, but you were a child of someone who was in the service.
Yeah, so my father was Air Force,
right
and
on.
while we were stationed overseas, actually, he was a civilian, and I grew up in England for
fun.
all my teenage years. So we moved there when I was 12. I left when I was 18. I left the English countryside to Taft, California, which is quite the culture shock, environmentally and
So you went
culturally.
from Robin Hood to Kuwait.
Yes, pretty much, pretty much. Yeah, but it was really cool. I got to travel around Europe a lot. Even with school, our football team would play in Spain and Italy, Germany. We played at NATO headquarters, which was really cool. So it was a lot of experiences that I got to have that, looking back now, I took for granted, and I wish I would have paid more attention to the stuff that was around me.
Yeah, when you're a kid.
When you're a kid.
You have a kid's mentality. So, you know what? I always try to tell the kids when I'm working with them, did youth ministry for a long time. And it's like, man, don't beat yourself up for being a kid. Be a kid.
You're right.
There's
right.
too much going on right now about how kids being adults, and then once they become adults, they want you to be kids again.
Yeah.
It's all backwards.
Yeah.
But, it's awesome. So you got tagged with the art bug. What started off your art?
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, what kicked it off?
It was just doing something. It was something that kept me busy, and I was able to focus a lot better in class with it. So growing up in the early 80s through 90s, the cartoons were the best, in my opinion. Ninja Turtles, the X-Men animated series, those two things I could watch now and be perfectly happy. He-Man even though the dialogue is cheesy, super cheesy, everything had morals back then too, which was really
That's
cool.
true.
Anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But I loved drawing. And I found that I wasn't super academic growing up, so I would draw in class. And it wasn't that I wasn't focusing, it was I'm deaf in my left ear. And so I'd be able to tune out a lot of the noise in the room by drawing, which I found out through teaching programs. That's actually a thing. Like, kids focus different ways, which now as an educator, I have to see that myself and see what works for each kid differently, right? You're not teaching to one kid, you're teaching to 25 kids that all learn differently. So that and then just drawing. I drew on walls, I drew under tables, I drew on anything I could get my hands on.
Wow. And you kind of, I hate to use the word, but you got the sickness.
Oh yeah,
You got the
yeah.
sickness.
It's there's no greater joy than using a gift that comes from the Lord.
Yeah, and that, I mean, straight up, one of your students came out in between shots here and asked me, "Are you a professional artist?" And I said, sometimes, I mean, it's one of those weird questions.
Yeah.
But he goes, is this good?
Oh, I hate that question.
Well, I said,
I hate that question.
you know what? I may think it looks great, but somebody else is it's subjective.
Yeah.
And so another person's gonna say, I don't get it. Do you like it? And he goes, it's okay. And I said, you do for you, because that's art for me. That art for me, doing music, I do it for me. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, it's for me. So my value isn't in your judgment.
No,
and
that's
I
right.
love that. And
Yeah.
and I love the fact that you brought up the gifts of God, because there's no other explanation of how a street kid like me could just riff words out of the air, out of the ether. I have no idea how that works. People ask me, how do you do it? I don't know.
It's God.
Yeah.
It's God.
And so it's awesome. And when you're doing that, how's it feel?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it's what's infectious about it is that you're doing it, and then people get inspired by it, and they want to do it too. And I feel like with music and with art, it's for me the biggest way that I see that I'm created in God's image. So you look back in Genesis, Adam was created in his image. And to me, having a sliver of the creativity that God has is amazing. And thinking about, like, we look at trees and you look at every single leaf that's on the tree. Each one was individually crafted and designed by God. Of every single tree, every single leaf, that's countless, right? I mean, we can't count that. Each blade of grass, each grain of sand. And if we can have even just a sliver of that creativity, that's pretty remarkable.
You know, every tree is a sculpture, a living sculpture. I don't know about you, but that's like 7D art.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's infectious.
Yeah,
I
and
just
to build
love it.
onto it is when we lived in Colorado, where I did my tattoo apprenticeship, looking at Pikes Peak all the time. And just like the trees here, it was created for him, by him.
Yeah.
And so once we realized that these items, these things glorify him, that's awesome. It's the whole thing of the rocks cry out.
Yeah, I can raise up a whole world with a grain of sand.
Yeah.
So don't let a rock cry out in your name.
There you go. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I know it. I love it. So we're here. I'm at Bakersfield Christian High School, and because my channel is about lifting up art and the community, and just trying to find all these different kind of genres of art. I'm a musician and a podcaster and whatever else you want to call it. General, knucklehead. And I know there are other knuckleheads in the city doing stuff. So you guys have something coming up. What's happening?
Yeah, we have on March 16th here on campus from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. we have our Spring Fine Arts Showcase. So we do 2 showcases a year, one in the fall, that's typically in October, and then we do a spring one, which is now. And I think the spring one is the biggest highlight, because what you have going on is you have the whole school year, well, at least 3 quarters of talent being developed, skills being developed, and just excitement that the kids have been putting in all year. So you get to see this accumulation of performances, whether it's the band playing, the show choir singing, the theater performing, or even the art gallery here that we have here at BCHS, which is our hallway. What's really cool this year is our AP kids that are taking AP art are going to be set up in the art studio, which is the art room, and they're going to be each has 2 pieces set out, and they're going to talk about their concept for the portfolio, which is something we've never done before, and it gives them a chance to share a little bit about themselves through their art with the community.
Well, that's awesome. I'd love to be able to come and maybe on the side show some of that, because that's exactly what my channel is about.
Yeah.
I talk about music and I share my music and stuff, but I talk about how and why I create it. Because I think for young people and even people that aren't musicians, their mind, they wonder, how do you, what, and it's so interesting to me, what inspires an artist to just take a blank canvas and turn it into something as gorgeous as this.
Oh, they're fun, right?
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And the creativity comes from who knows what, and the different styles of art, it's just incredible. So thanks for being my first guest.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're going to try to keep coming back if we can highlight some stuff. And I'll say this and then I'll shut up. This dude is one of them artists that when they're having sermons going on, you paint pictures,
I do,
right?
yeah. I recently did some stuff with the Bridge a while back. The Bridge Church here.
My niece and nephew were like,
Bakersfield.
this dude painted a picture. It was awesome.
So I had, I think it was under 5 minutes to do a painting, and I did 7 of them in the night. So each time they told the nativity story, I would be at work trying to create a painting. And then the other challenge is not doing the same painting each time. So I worked with a limited palette and just kind of went for it. So like a lot of them had the manger in there in some way, and then some had angels flanking it, some had surrounded by wise men and shepherds, and just trying to capture just a little bit of how beautiful that night was.
Well, I know the name of the mighty, mighty fortress. That's his name right there. I said, I know the name of the mighty, mighty fortress. He is the mighty counselor. I know the name of the mighty, mighty fortress. He is the lover of children.
Man, I hope you enjoyed that B-roll and those little second half of that song. If you want to listen to the rest of it, man, go to iTunes or CD Baby or wherever you get your music and check out The Name of the Lord Is. It's a great song. But now I want to introduce my second guest, and here she is. So I'm talking to Mindy Leindecker. She's the theater teacher here at Bakersfield Christian High School. And, I've been traveling around the school, getting a bunch of B-roll and having some fun. I wanted to interview her and talk to her about what got her into theater in the first place. And a little bit about yourself, too. Where are you from?
I'm from Bakersfield, born and raised, lived here my whole life. I was always putting on shows as a kid. We used to have a fireplace that had a ledge on it, and that was my stage. And from the time I was very small, I remember doing that. And then when I was about 11, my mom asked me if I wanted to audition for a play, and I auditioned and I got a part, and it's kind of been nonstop ever since then.
Where did you audition?
It was actually north of the river, Junior Theater.
Cool.
Yeah, it was Prince and the Pauper, and I was Lady Guinevere, and it was my first show. So
yeah, fun. Okay,
yeah.
And so that got the bug, huh?
Yes,
You
yes.
caught the sickness, did you? So where'd you go to school?
Cal State Bakersfield.
Okay.
Yeah. Minored in theater, majored in education, so I have kind of both worlds. And I taught elementary school for a long time after that, and I would direct after school. I ran all of the summer workshops and kids programs at the Melodrama here in town.
Fun.
And then I directed for Stars Theater and a couple other theaters here in town, and then I ended up here.
So you got stuff coming up.
I do.
What is going on?
So next up we have the BCHS Spring Fine Arts Fest, and that's just kind of a festival of all things art on our campus. We have beautiful artwork displayed
It's awesome, isn't
from
it?
the visual
This is
art
crazy.
students. I know, it's awesome. And the theater classes perform. My advanced theater class is doing a melodrama. It's kind of my roots, so that's kind of what I've been teaching them right now, is focusing on melodrama and big characterization. And then my Theater 2 class is learning classical Shakespeare scenes, and they've been working on partner scenes, working with Shakespeare, so that's really cool too.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Getting these youngsters to try to do the
Yes.
Shakespeare.
They love it though. It's funny. At first they're really afraid of it, and then when we break it down and they figure out what it means, they really like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a close friend, Randy, I won't say your last name, ran the Shakespeare Festival here, and his daughter runs it now. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
we've seen a couple of their shows. And
Yeah.
so, introducing to these young people Shakespeare and the classics and just this whole theater deal, man. It's
Right.
just so good for their heart and their head.
It is.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And come back to my channel. My people like to know about what's going on around here.
Of
So,
course.
it was a joy to have you.
So nice to be
and
here.
So hang in there.
Thank you so much.
All right, cool. I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. That subscription helps me continue to keep doing these things. Go to the website where I've got my music for sale and buy my music. Help keep this thing going for me. That's how I make money. Just do everything you can to help me keep this thing going, and I'll keep bringing you really good content. I swear, I promise, I'll do everything I can. So keep coming back.